Hey everyone, Bill Benner here, back with a helpful video. Just did a repair on this Vino-Temp wine refrigerator, and I figured I'd make a video about the repair I did because it's kind of complex, and figured that it might help somebody else out there with a similar wine refrigerator. And then I thought, well, actually, I've had this thing since 2008 and I've done a number of repairs, and so why not talk about all the repairs that I've done with this and maybe give you some helpful hints on, if you've got something like this, what you could do yourself. So now, before we get started, I will say that this is for education and entertainment only. Hopefully I am a little bit entertaining. This is not advice. Anything you do is done at your own risk. And actually, what this could be is just information, so that if you have a repairman come over, you'll have something to help him, to guide him, because sometimes they can get kind of confused by this kind of thing. This here is a model VT188. It was purchased in 2008. They don't make them like this anymore. But this advice is kind of applicable to all wine refrigerators of this style. And so now the three things we're going to be covering today are the condensation drain, what happens and how to clean that. This what's called the start relay, which is a misnomer. It's really a PTC thermistor, but that we'll talk about that and the symptoms of that and how you can solve that. And then the last thing we'll talk about, the last repair I've just done, is the compressor relay. Now I'm going to be covering these in the order of easiest for you to perform or have performed to the most difficult, and it's also coincidentally the order of the most likely to the least likely. Alright, so as I said, the first thing we're going to be covering is the condensation drain. And first thing I'm going to be talking about is the symptoms of all of these things. So what you'll notice is that I've got a paper towel down here in the bottom of this Vino-Temp. And the reason why I've got a paper towel is because what will happen, the paper towel is a canary in the coal mine. What will happen is when the condensation drain clogs, water will collect in the bottom of the refrigerator and start dripping out the door once it gets to a sufficient level. So what I've done here is I put a paper towel down there so that the paper towel will get wet, and it will take actually about a week before there's enough water collected in there before it'll start dripping out the bottom. So what I could do is occasionally look and see, is the paper towel damp or not, and if it isn't, I know the condensation drain is fine. If it is, I know I have to clean out the condensation drain either now, or I could postpone this for up to a week by putting different paper towels in there or something like that. So this is the easiest thing to repair, and I will go ahead and describe how you do that now. So what I've already done, hang on one second, I'm going to get my screwdriver. So what I've already done is removed the shelves from here to there. You don't have to remove them all, but I've only removed the ones up to there. And what we're going to be doing here, and let me get my flashlight back here. So what you need to do the repair is a screwdriver and a turkey baster and a small dish. This dish performs two purposes, and I'm going to be talking about this in a second. So where we are going to be operating at is in this area here. There is this pan which collects the condensation, which comes off the coil, which is above. And what happens is the water that's collected into this pan goes down a tube. The tube is on the right-hand side of this thing, this channel, and goes into that grommet in the bottom. And so that's what happens. The water goes up there, collects, drops down, and goes into that grommet. What happens is that grommet gets clogged. And so what you've got to do is take out, in the case of this VT188, you got to take out a screw on this side here, and you got to take out another screw that's right about there, and then you take out a screw here and here. And then this channel will be able to be free. And then lastly, you take out a screw up there and a screw over there. And what happens is these screws will allow this tray to be removed. This is like a little plastic plug. Now the reason why I've got this little tray here is because I recommend you put it there, and maybe some paper towels too, or a towel, because as soon as this thing comes free, it probably is going to have some water in it, and you're going to need a place for that water to go. So what I usually do is just take the tray out, kind of drop it pretty quickly, and let the water go into this pan. And once you remove this tray, then this channel will come out. So then the trick is to clean all this stuff out. And so, and where the condensation drain gets clogged is down in the grommet, and that thing will be clogged, usually completely solid. So you take the turkey base here, you put it down into the grommet, and you just kind of squeeze it, and squeeze it as hard as you can, as fast as you can, to try to clear whatever is there. And sometimes it's a little bit difficult, but eventually you will be able to clear it. And then the last thing you want to do to prevent it from getting clogged again is take a little bit of bleach. You just take a cap full of bleach, put the this cap full of bleach in here with some water, and just kind of stir it around. And what I do is take the turkey baster and kind of suck some of the bleachy water up and just push it down into the grommet hole where it will go, so it doesn't get clogged again. And so you only need a couple of squeezes of this. Don't go crazy. If you do a lot of it, I'll tell you what happens. I'll show you what happens later. It's not a big deal, but ideally just do a couple of these things. And then likewise, you could use the bleachy water to clean out the tray and that channel thing. Just make sure that all that stuff is clear and put it all back together. And so this takes, like I say, only a screwdriver and these things, and it will take 15 minutes if you really get rolling with it. And so it's a pretty easy fix. All right, so the second thing we're going to be talking about is called a start relay. That is a misnomer. It's really a PTC thermistor, but everyone calls it a start relay, so I guess we have to call it a start relay. So what happens, the symptoms, if this goes bad, is that the refrigerator does not cool, and what you hear is a hum, like followed by maybe a little click, and maybe by 1 minute of silence. So again, it's kind of like click, and it'll be silent for a really long time, and then go click, and then silent. Do not let it do this. It's not really healthy for it to do this. What's happening is it's putting a lot of current into the relay, and the relay is putting a lot of current into the compressor. The compressor is not starting. It's drawing a lot of current from your house, and it heats up what's called the thermal cutout. It heats up the compressor. Nothing good can come from just leaving it like this. So you want to unplug it, turn it off as quickly as possible, and replace the start relay. And I'm going to be talking to you and showing you how to do that now. Now, since this is kind of a tight space, what I'll do is I'll get the camera here, and then show you what we're talking about, the area. So this is the compressor here on the left. Let's see if I can get the light in a place where it's not overwhelming. So that's this big black thing here. It says 115 volts, 60 hertz. And on the left side of this is where the compartment where that start relay is. And that compartment is this little black thing, and that black thing is just usually held on with a strap or a screw, but I've already removed the strap, and so what I'm going to do is just reach in there and remove that little compartment. And where the start relay is actually the white wire is going to the start relay. The start relay is kind of a roundish thing, and this is actually a working unit, so I'm not going to take it apart. And there are other videos on YouTube that show how to change this start relay. So this will just show you kind of the area of it, give you the symptom of it, and talk about what happens when when this happens, and then you can watch other YouTube videos which show in greater detail how to change this start relay. But that's the situation, and you'll notice here this rust stain down here. Remember I said that what happens if you overdo the, the bleach water? And well, that's what happens. It will just, what happens is you'll overflow the condensation pan, and it will just flow onto the thing here. It's not a big deal, but it just, it doesn't look real good. So this, for this particular unit, this VT188, the start relay is QP 4.7, QP2-4.7 start relay. So that's the model number of this one. All right, so the third and last thing I'm going to be talking about is a compressor relay. You might call it compressor control relay or something like that. And once again, the symptoms of this are that in my case, it just continues to run. It just ran forever. I looked over here and the temperature was like 40 something. I said, gosh, I don't set it that cold. So what's happening? Went in here and turned up the temperature all the way, and you just heard it click and go off. Well, it didn't do that. It just stayed on. And so when that happened, it will never turn off. It's not really good. It's not going to hurt the compressor, but it's going to use electricity and keep the wine really, really cold. So it's not really good to leave it like that. And so, main thing to do would be to unplug it and then have somebody diagnose this system. And for me, this was not easy because this is an old unit. There's no information about this on the internet, and I will show you what the problem was. So once again, I'm going to take the camera here, flip it around, and where we are going to be is in this gray box here to the right. And I've got several of these Vino Temps, several different models, and they all have a gray box, and they're all on the right. And I've already taken the screws out of this so I can kind of see if I can open this up and show you what's in there and how it works. I can't, as it turns out, I can't get too far in there, but what's happens is that there is a couple of little, those black things there, the bigger black thing to the left and the smaller black thing to the right. The bigger black thing to the left is the relay that runs the compressor. And if that shorts, what will happen is that the compressor runs all the time. The smaller one runs the light. There is an overhead light on this unit that you can turn on and off, which we've never actually turned on. But if that relay shorts, then what will happen is the compressor runs all the time. I suppose another failure mode of the relay is that it could open up, meaning that it could fail in such a way that the compressor never comes on. So if you have a wine refrigerator that never cools, it could be that relay is the problem. And as long as the compressor isn't humming and drawing a lot of current, then that could be the symptom there. So I'm going to hand this back to my cameraman. Yeah, so this was the most complicated, and what it would require is for you to remove the board, which is not very difficult, to unplug. There's like a couple of wires that are plugged on there, all with connectors. There is a connector that comes from this little control panel that's plugged onto it. All that's easy. The hard part is going to be replacing the relay, because it's 4 through-hole pads that you have to remove the solder on, remove the relay, put a new relay on, and then solder it all back up. And for many people, that is not going to be very easy to do. And so it could be that you have a repairman come over here. Kind of part of the problem is that if you have a kind of a normal repairman, they're not going to troubleshoot and replace to the component level. I would be willing to bet that if I had an air conditioner repair guy come over, they'd just say, buy a new one. And if you have a detailed refrigerator guy come out, they might say, okay, well, it's the board. we'll replace the board. And I'm not sure for a VT188 made in 2008 if the board is even available. But the relay is $5 on eBay. It's pretty easy for somebody with soldering skills to do the repair. So if you have those skills, or if you can find those skills, then it's an easy and cheap repair. And if you can't, then they may say replace the whole thing. All right, so to perform the condensation drain cleaning, what we have first do is remove the racks from this area. The plate that does the cooling is here. The refrigerant runs through there, and then all of the water runs down into this tray here, and then this drains down in through this drain. And so what I'm going to be doing is removing the, oh come on iPhone, focus. Black stuff is hard to focus. So I'm going to be removing this tray, and I'm going to be removing this drain thing too, and then we'll take the next steps. While doing this, there's one thing that's very handy to have, and it is one of these bulbs here. This is going to be used in several ways, but probably one of the first things you'll want to do is actually, if there's any water in here, what you could do is come up here and suck out the water and then just kind of drain it into here. This one here, I've already done some of, but that's what you do. Just make sure you have a little tray ready and one of these bulb things so that you can suck out any kind of concentration. And then this is going to come in handy later too, because once we removed this, you actually wind up using this to flush it as well. All right, folks, sorry about the noise in the background. Got some pressure washer going on. So here's the tray, the condensation tray, and this is the drain, and the tray just goes into the drain. And what we do is just clean this out real good. I've got the brush here. You could use some bleach, and the main thing is to just get it out real good. You're gonna find that there's kind of some wine mold-like stuff that kind of collects in here. And of course the hole here, the drain hole, you wanna make sure that that's completely clear. And a lot of times it will get blocked right there. Sometimes it gets blocked at the bottom of the drain in the refrigerator, but a lot of times it gets blocked right there. All right, so the next step is to actually clean the drain. This is exactly where it goes down in the refrigerator. And so what I've done is I brought a little bit of water, and I'm going to use this bulb and suck some water up into the bulb, and then go down into the drain, straight down. And what you might be able to see is that I'm squeezing this, and yet it's not going down because it's clogged. And so that's what happens. A lot of times they'll clog on the top in the pan, but on this one, for some reason, it always clogs right there. You just gotta squeeze it, and it will eventually, you'll be able to clear that eventually to the point where you'll be able to finally squeeze that. But it is completely solid, as you can see. And so in this one, what happens is that it's not just a hole that goes straight down. It actually turns a little bit of a corner. So you just can't take a screwdriver and poke it down there. It actually turns a corner. And usually I've just got to kind of really keep on working this sucker until I'm able to clear that, and get it to flow again. All right, finally was able to get this thing clean. This was a real bear. But here's what I've got here. I got the bulb. I'm gonna just bring the bulb down here, and I'm gonna lift the bulb up here and let water flow just to show that it's draining, it's not backing up. And if it was backing up, you'd see that it would be flowing out of the hole. So now when I'm squeezing it, you can see that we have air flowing real good. So it's clean. And now I'm just going to put it all back together.